Hey, we're live.
Live. Welcome to Members. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course, with me tonight is Techy Joe. How are you, darlings?
Oh, I'm doing pretty great. How about
Good.
you this evening?
Oh, I'm rocking through. We've got the whole, Aeson needs dental surgery BS going on, which has really pissed me off, but, we're doing what we can. It's kind of delayed a few things. I know the newsletter may be delayed a day or so, but that's okay. We're doing our
Trying
normal,
to get
let's
stuff out.
battle it up.
Yeah,
Huh?
we're trying to get stuff out. We try, we really do, but it has not been the year of cooperation. So we do what we can as fast as we can, and we hope you guys will give us a break. Like,
Well, it's more than a break because we actually do put a lot into the newsletter. We put a lot of design work into the newsletter and the backgrounds, and we want a good product for you guys. And if it ain't ready, I ain't shipping it out.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
But I think we do have the backgrounds ready to go, and they could go up. They
okay.
haven't. Yeah, so
They
we can
have
get those
it.
out. Okay, because
Yeah.
okay, I thought
Yeah.
I'd sent them over. I might not have. I was working on those. Like, I had the October background ready. Like, I don't know, September 10th. Like, I was like good to go.
Okay.
Um,
Well, for those that don't know, nothing comes out of PCS Network unless it goes through Joe's desk and my desk. And sorry, my desk has been a little vacant here lately.
oh, well, it's not. Your desk has not been vacant. Your desk has never been vacant a day in its life. Oh no. Your desk is stacked up like LaGuardia on Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
Hi
but
Brenda. Hi
I got
Shannon.
terminal commander around to move the stacks.
Well, do what we can.
Yeah. And I don't know, LaGuardia might not be that stacked up. They might actually be able to have a Christmas party this year.
Yeah, I think for LaGuardia, they're actually gonna just be like sleeping on the job as like a perk this year.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, does anyone know? Has the airline industry even tried to recover yet? Like, where are we on that? Like,
they
it has
haven't.
been so crazy in news. I have even missed big tech stories.
They haven't. They have actually had to go into furlough. We are actually looking at United and American Airline. Is it United? Yeah, United and American possibly having to merge to survive. Air travel is down 70%.
Ooh.
Yeah. And of course, since, the Republicans will not deal with our commander in chief, Nancy Pelosi, um, they didn't get their additional $25 billion bailout.
That's well, and that's kind of a scary thought. Is that a lot of the things that we've taken for granted, probably over the last half century,
Mm-hmm.
air travel, sea travel, all of like they are luxury things and they are luxury items in some cases. Some travel is required in business, and it is, even though it's expensive, is realistically the cheapest way in an emergency for a lot of people to traverse the continent. And it's what has allowed the spiral, or sprawl is the word I'm looking for, of people away from where they were born, where their family is, and set off on their own. Now we're kind of facing that from a different direction. Is a lot of what we've taken for granted that let that happen is starting to collapse,
Yeah.
because we've basically abandoned railway. Like, we can keep sitting here and saying that no, rail is still viable, rail is still there, Amtrak still works, sort of.
I'd
It's
rather travel by rail.
well, and I have, and it's actually much more comfortable. But with that said, it's still, like, the heyday's gone. Like, it feels dated. It is dated. It is going, infrastructure wise. It's starting to crumble.
Only in the
It
United
has been
States. In
crumbling.
Europe, they continue to invest in their trains. In
Hmm.
other countries, they have continued to invest in the train lines and the rail systems. They have
Well,
made mass transit much more available than we have.
well, and a lot of that has to do with population density and the viability of doing that. That's a problem we have long faced in the US is rail was only truly viable for long distance travel. And which we still kind of have that with Amtrak. We still kind of have that with coal. We still kind of have that with oil. We still have that in a few forms.
Mm-hmm.
However, we've not invested or been able to economically demonstrate why we would invest in mass transit systems. And those systems often operate at a loss
Right.
because the ridership isn't there.
Well, I don't think it's the ridership isn't there. I think the marketing isn't there. Um, Here's a great example.
Mm-hmm.
The invisible assistant argued with me for days that there was not a train station in our area.
Okay.
There are two. There is one in Prince, West Virginia, which, by the way, guys, beautiful, beautiful park down there. The other one is in Montgomery, West Virginia, all within 30 minutes of us.
Mm-hmm.
We can, however, normally fly out of Charleston Airport because that's what everyone goes to
Right.
because of the heydays of the 50s.
Well, there's that. But then you still run into issues with that.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of the, especially in West Virginia, our airports have very limited flight schedules. This isn't flying out of New York. This is not flying out of Greensboro, Newark. That's not where it's at. Charlotte, Douglas, nothing like that. Or even to an extent, it's not even flying out of Raleigh, North Carolina, which, by the way, if you've ever done that, that's almost cute. That's the level of airport we have, by the way, is the point in which it's kind of cute.
Well, the airport we have is scary.
Oh, it's not that scary.
Oh, it is, comparatively.
Oh,
You
they're
fly
very
off the
friendly.
top of a mountain. You hope that the plane started its engines somewhere between its dive down and its dive up. It is one of the most challenging
Oh,
airports ever, and that is on record for a pilot to get us out. And they can't even take us out on big planes. They take us out on scooter jumpers. I've been on private jets that are larger.
well, a lot of that is true. But with that, it does work. It can be done.
Mm-hmm.
It does end up costing us a lot as taxpayers, and it also creates this kind of false sense of transportation viability.
Right.
West Virginia does not have a major airport. Let's just face it, we don't. And a lot of what we're doing with that money is we're not actually making a profit off of these airports. We're pouring money to keep them open. That was a big issue with Mercer County.
Mm-hmm.
They're the Bluefield Airport or the Bluefield Princeton Airport is just a giant, massive cash sucker
Mm-hmm.
out of the county budget.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Mercer County Airport. Technically, it's in Bluefield. It's between Bluefield and Princeton. It's weird to get to, but it's also in that same kind of vein of like you're talking about the Charleston Airport. Is you kind of jump off the edge of a mountain and you hope the engines are running.
Yep.
That's kind
And
of where you're
apparently,
at.
I'm getting it. We're getting comments in that people would love to see my reaction to flying out of Huntington. When I travel again, I will try to recommend that to the event coordinator. Check this airport. Um, Normally, I fly Delta. I've flown Southwest. Both of them are rude. Um,
Well,
Flying out
not
to Pittsburgh or Morgantown for being cute. Of course, I wouldn't mind going to Alibaba's just to eat.
there you go. Well, now I will say there's a fun experience that I did get to have was booking a trip from Charleston, West Virginia to Charleston, South Carolina.
Uh-huh.
Because there are 2 Charleston airports.
Yeah.
And it was the hardest thing in the world because the gate agent kept getting confused. Not on my way down, on my way back, is like, how are you flying from and I'm like, read the airport code again. They're slightly different. But yeah, they were like their brain blown. But the difference between the 2 airports is night and day. Same as like, and what always gets me with airports, though, let me just say, because our biggest servicer in this area, whatever you do, you're going to either end up at Piedmont Triad or Charlotte Douglas, most likely. Those are your most likely.
No, if you're going to fly out to Columbus International or to Cincinnati, if you're going west.
Yeah, but 9 times out of 10, you're still going to have to pass through a major hub to get there.
Yeah.
And Charlotte Douglas, I will say, has become one of the biggest major hubs. You know, for the longest time, we made the joke in Greensboro that I don't know why we don't just drive to Charlotte. It would be easier because showing up at 5 a.m. to get there to the airport, to board a plane, to go up in the air for 45 minutes, see the fasten seatbelt light turn off, and then turn back on and begin the descent. Because you're going to Charlotte Douglas.
Right.
You're going straight from Greensboro to Charlotte Douglas to wherever else in the world you want to go.
Right.
Or just about.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. But no, flying out of West Virginia is an experience. It is an experience.
Again, you know, and it's like rail. I'm sorry, rail is always going to be my preferred. Actually, my preferred is car currently. You know, if we can drive it, we're going to drive it. 12 hours, cool. That's 12 hours that I either get to drive and dictate, or 12 hours I get to sit in the side and work, or do my favorite thing in a car.
Sleep. But yeah, no. See, no, I've never been big on the humongous car trip. I maxed out somewhere around 4 hours in any one direction, and then I'm like, no, this was flyable. We could have flown this.
But that's no fun. You don't get to stop and do the rally checks. You don't get to stop and look at stuff. You don't get to enjoy your driving experience as you choose to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Says the guy in the passenger seat asleep.
Because you allow me to sleep. I've asked you, do you want me to drive, honey? It's no big of a drive. I can handle it.
Well, I'm not crazy. I'm not going to put you in the driver's seat to sleep. Like, I have common sense. I'm like, no, if you're going to sleep, do it over there. Oh, God. I want to live. I choose life.
Again, you choose to drive every time. Like, it drove you nuts the 2 weeks last year that I had to drive for you.
Yes, I know, because I'm not supposed to move my neck, and being a passenger in a vehicle with you mostly requires going every 5 seconds.
No, it doesn't.
Well, kind of does.
No, it doesn't.
Does for me.
It does for you because you freak over every little thing. You treat me like I'm a terrible driver, and I'm going for one of the best driving records currently.
Okay. I'll let it stand.
Really? I haven't had a speeding ticket in over 10 years. I haven't had an accident in over 10 years. I've never been in a major accident that was me driving.
Well, there you go. True. But still, it's you get close to things.
Yes.
You get very
and I pass things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, honey, at some points I have thought about just putting KY on the sides of the card before we go anywhere, just to make sure, because you get really close to stuff.
Yes,
Like,
I
lube
do.
it up and slide it through and just hope for no damage.
I think Shannon's correct.
I am not a control freak. I demand you change that sentence.
No, you are when it comes to vehicle travel. And I don't mind that.
My
For years.
experience, though. No, I am a control freak in a car. I get that. I totally get that. I am. Some of that is experience. Like, I kind of fell off a deep end right around age 12, riding around with my mother with early onset Alzheimer's. Yeah, a little bit of a control freak in a car. Like, no, I'll drive tanks. Like,
Yeah.
I choose life.
Well, yeah, you can drive. I have no problem with it because it allows me to do more things. But if it's a 12-hour drive, not a problem. I'll drive it. I've been to Florida, went there 2 weekends straight in a row.
Hi, Kim. So yeah, no, doesn't every family have the tailgater?
Yes.
The one who's just like right there, and it's like, no, would you please stop that? It's like, well, now for me, and being a little bit of a control freak, I had a now ex sister-in-law who swore up and down that she would have whiplash if the invisible brake pedal were real. Because the way she would drive is she was the perpetual tailgater. She was always like 3 seconds from disaster. Yeah. So, like, yeah, she was pretty sure at one point I may have knocked a hole or at least dented her floorboard. And it's like, yeah, that should be your warning.
Well, again,
like, I wasn't the only one who did that with her.
Honest. You get the driving thing honest. I'm telling you.
Okay.
You get it straight from your grandfather.
I'm not that bad. And I am not that bad. I have not thrown you out of the car. I have not. Thought about it. I will admit to that. I have thought about it.
But again, these things happen. The Americans need to invest in rail. I mean, come on. By rail, we could be in Charleston in 20 minutes if they had actually maintained the railways.
Yeah, I got to bring attention to Brenda's comment, though. Control freak issues in cars with her, riding with too many drunk drivers when I was growing up. I totally get that. I totally get that. At least one of my siblings has some stories like that, and that generate from our father.
Right.
Because my father, like, y'all, you got to understand, there was a time, and Brenda understands this. Right now, you go out to a party, you get totally hammered, you get behind the wheel, and you start swerving across lines and maybe go into a ditch and tear up your car, and you get back on the road trying to drive home. Okay. You're going to jail if a cop sees you. There's no question. You're going to jail. The car is being impounded, and someone will bail your ass out. You're going before an attorney, before a judge. You're being charged with DUI. There will be points against your license. Your insurance will go up. Given at this point. My parents were from a time in which if you weren't too drunk, the officer would just tell you to slow down and he'll follow you home. Where do you live? Or if you were a little more drunk, What's your wife's phone number? I'll have her come get you. Just pull up here and leave your car in this parking lot. And if you were way too drunk and you could not manage to get out your own home phone number, you would get taken to a drunk tank and a nice officer would move your car off the road, lock it, put you in the drunk tank, wait till you sober up, hand you your keys, and drive you back to your car. That's the world my dad drove in for many decades. But he managed to make it through his entire life with one speeding ticket. Never a DUI. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here going, it's a pure miracle he didn't kill anyone.
Well, I think it's a pure miracle a lot of things didn't happen with your dad. Like, you know, that man must have had guardian angels, Secret Service, you know, phylums, all that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, it helps if you run around with the police chief. But yeah. Sorry, Kim, I missed when your comment came in, so I'm assuming that was... I don't know.
Yeah, that was when we were talking about you not being that bad of control freak.
I'm not that bad.
Uh-huh.
No. I've never demanded you pull over in the middle of the road.
No, you've never demanded me to pull over in the middle of the road. However, you have told me to speed up, slow down, watch this, watch that, keep an eye on this.
I have never told you to speed up. Not once. Slow down, I'll grant you. Watch out, absolutely. And, you know, wait a minute before you pull out in front of something that I think is going way faster than you can. Because sometimes I feel like I have to remind you it's a Kia Soul.
It's a 4.2 liter engine, and that bitch will do what she needs to do.
It's a what? No. That is not a 4.2 liter engine. That is a 2.0 liter 4-cylinder engine.
Yeah,
and it doesn't
power behind her. She's not my V8 I like, but she'll do. It's just a little slow.
Well, yeah, but when you're up at, like, when I see a Chevy 3500 coming at us, I'm like, oh no, no, we're not playing that game.
Yeah, but you also forget that there are such things as turn lanes that you can go into. You know, at least you haven't freaked when I've merged into a lane. I'm impressed by that.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I give your merging skills credit. I do.
Yeah.
But no, but that's also part of the problem with long drives. And one of the things to consider and why typically insurance can be mileage based is that the further you drive and the more unfamiliar territories you're going through, the more opportunities you have for like different traffic patterns and different like attitudes towards, you know, speed limits and merging and etc. As well as unknown hazards. To start becoming, you know, bigger parts of your trip and more stressful events and taking a toll on a very tired driver. That's usually where I'm at with that.
Right. And that's when it's normally like, honey, pull over, get in my seat, take a nap. Please take a nap. I will get us home. I will get us where we're going. It isn't that big of a deal. You know, I can take care of us. I mean, because my old drives, you know, granted, I haven't gotten to do a lot of long trip traveling with you. I think our longest one was 4 or 5 hours.
No longer than that. We did the full trip from Charleston, I believe, all the way down to Wake Forest.
No, that was a stopover.
Sure. Oh, we did stop in Princeton. So still Princeton to Charlotte to Wake Forest, though.
Yeah, but that's still 4 hours because Charlotte's 2.5.
I thought it was more. Well, it's more than that the way I drive
Charlotte's
it.
2.5, dear. Wake Forest was an additional maybe hour and a half.
Oh, I love Shannon's comment. My grandpa promised me $100 if I got us back to his house on the way back to West Virginia before kickoff time for a game. 2.5 hour drive in an hour. I got my $100 and he never let me drive him again.
Well, that kind of sounds like when I came home from Dad when Dad had surgery. I came home. I got the call. I left the bar. Yes, I was working there. No, I wasn't drinking there.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, fair distinction to make. We just had that whole conversation.
Well, not only that, but people go, "You were at the bar when the guy." Yeah, I got to call. Dad was going into emergency surgery. I peeled out of the bar, and made it home in 3 hours. Like before he was out of surgery, I was sitting at the hospital going, "All right, let's play ball."
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But no, I mean, it's not that I haven't pulled some stunts in my time.
Mm-hmm.
I will and can.
And
huh?
And do. And I almost lost your driving Aeson privileges because of one of them.
Which one?
Pharmacy closing in 15 minutes on the other side of Greensboro to get my meds.
Other side of where?
Where Greensboro, wherever we were at. North Carolina.
Oh, the Wake Forest when we were having to get your prescription transferred down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we took off without your meds. Yeah, but we got your prescriptions.
I know.
I'm like, I don't want to hear it. We got your prescription.
No. That taught me an important lesson. I don't have to baby the car. I just have to make sure the car is happy.
Well, you do have to baby the car. Like, I have a firm belief you take care of the car, and the car will take care of you if you momentarily need to ask more of it than it should do.
Right.
And that's the belief I've had with every car I've had. Like, I've tried to be gentle with all my vehicles up to a point. And it's like, no. I need you to do this right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put a little strain on you.
Well, she's been great. I'm just now getting, granted, I've been driving the car for about 2 years. And I tell you what, I'm impressed. I normally don't like small cars. Mm-hmm. I prefer a land yacht because I want some ass behind my push. Mm-hmm. But she's been great as a car.
Small vehicles aren't what they used to be. And I think that a lot of my attitude towards small vehicles started with my first one. Mm-hmm. Because I had the little Ford Festiva. Mm-hmm. And for anyone who's never driven one of those, back in the late 80s through a good chunk of the 90s, Ford made this stupid little car, cheap as could be. It was an amalgamation of spare parts, little tiny 4-cylinder engine, came in a manual, which I had, so learned to drive on a stick. But no, like the car didn't look like much, and that's because it wasn't. Like it was a tin can. It was aluminum. It was all aluminum. The car hardly weighed anything. So the 4-cylinder engine that was in it was actually quite powerful because effectively you're moving something with the weight of like 3 golf carts with a vehicle engine. So yeah, it was impressive. The car weighed next to nothing and had more engine than it needed. So it would move.
Right.
You had to pull out in second. You couldn't pull out in first without wasting a lot of rubber.
Mm-hmm. Well, this one's the smallest vehicle I've owned in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think even my Spider Eclipse was bigger than this.
Oh, yeah. Well, engine-wise, I'm sure.
Size-wise. Yeah.
It'd be about even.
No.
Yeah.
I'd lose either half the engine or half the back seat, one of the two.
Hey, what can I say? I always like my small vehicles, though.
Yeah. I always liked the big one. I always preferred something I'd load a house in.
Yeah. Well, and I will say the part of this one was that first 6,000 miles was a chore.
Mm-hmm.
It took that car about 6,000 miles, 2 oil changes to actually get happy.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Because
the one vehicle I have seen that I really like, and if it ever goes on sale, is Max. Brenda's Jeep.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the Wranglers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Wrangler.
Ooh. That's. Are you sure? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not throwing off on the Wrangler. I'm really not. I'm not throwing off on the Wrangler, and I never will. They are great vehicles. What I'm saying is that is some back to nature driving. Because I always thought I wanted a Wrangler until a coworker of mine took us to lunch one day in hers. That was back to, like, I felt like I could die at any moment. Like, there was nothing stopping me from death.
Yeah, 3-piece roof.
Like, there just wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because she had the soft top and the little zippered windows, and and like all Wranglers, I know the doors come off and all that. But there was that moment, is like, there's not a lot of car around me. That's what I kept feeling, is like, there's just not a lot of car around me. Like, structural things, like, I'm hearing way too much of what's going on around me.
Yeah,
like, I'm pretty sure that someone sitting in a Buick could have farted, and I would have heard it in her Wrangler.
Well, again, you'll get used to that if I get either my convertible or a Wrangler or something like that.
That's the thing to mention, though, is you may have trouble buying a convertible probably in the next few years.
Really?
Mm-hmm. There is a massive decline. Consumers aren't buying them. They're not interested.
I don't know. Anyway. I personally would love to. I haven't found my convertible that I like yet. And I'm in that weird mix, and I don't know. I may even look at the Wrangler secondary market, because I ain't buying a new car. We have done that. We have had that experience. We don't want that experience ever again. Joe can have the experience again if he wants.
Of which vehicle is this?
A new car.
Oh. No, I'm totally with the new car experience. I don't know what is wrong with you going to a car dealership, but it always turns out ugly.
Yeah, it does. But we'll look at secondary markets. If one pops up, I'll look at it definitely heavily. After seeing Brenda's and some of the new things they've done with it, and they've got the hard shell.
Well, yes, it does have roll bars, and I get that, but yeah, I don't know. I want more.
You understand that her Wrangler probably has more structure than a convertible does?
Oh, no, I get that part.
Okay.
I never said I would ride with you in it. I didn't know better the last time I rode around in a convertible. Like, I was a baby, literally. In not a back seat. Because anyone who knows their cars knows that an MG midget is a 2-seater.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you put the top up, the void in which the top goes does create a mild seating area if you put a 2x6 across it, across the wheel wells. So yeah, that's yeah. And child safety seat, what was that? I'm pretty sure that at the point in which I was first put in that car, it was just baby me on a pillow duct taped to a board. The pillow, not me. Although my family. There's a possibility both occurred. So yeah, no, I didn't know better. I thought it was great. I didn't realize till years later that if my sister had rolled that car, it would have been wee splat.
No, you would have been all right.
No, I'm pretty sure it would have been wee splat. And I was adorable as a baby. It would have been tragic.
You snap your fingers. Thank you.
I do what I can. It's the little one. You know she doesn't listen. Sorry, that was the dog, guys.
Yes.
I'm not doing inappropriate things during our Mountain Bears episode.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the secondary markets.
Well, and this is out of the same, granted, now I do have to explain, in the same family, my mother had a Subaru Brat at the time, and she did opt for the two little, like, fishing chairs in the back. They had little wells that you could put what literally looked like a marine chair in it. A little jump seat. Like if I remember right, the back flipped up and down. And yes, it had a seat belt, but you're basically in the truck bed portion of a Subaru Brat, a 2-seater car. A truck bed, looked like an El Camino, just better. But like you've got this skinny little metal post and a seat and a single lap belt. Yeah. Mom had that in gold because it was that time period.
Well, again,
gold. I mean, gold, like gold metallic paint gold.
But you know, we did ride in truck beds. That was no big deal. You throw a couple big bean bags in the back and throw the kids in there. We survived.
Well, yeah. And, well, granted, I felt a little safer in my sister's truck because she at least had the camper shell and we all had pillows.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes we take safety a little much.
Still.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm just realizing, though, you know, it was a little baby convertible. It was a little baby convertible, and my sister drove too fast to begin with. Like, especially too fast to have a little British sports car. Like, God. But it does lead to fun sentences that I can say in my life because people say things like, can you drive a stick? And I'm like, yeah. Can you start a car with a carburetor? And I'm like, yeah. And can you start a car with a choke?
Yeah. You know, and I miss the carburetors. Believe me, that my 79 Grand Prix drove for years with a clothespin. You didn't move the clothespin. You replaced the clothespin every 3 months.
Well, there you go. All right.
Well, it was a double barrel carburetor and the flap got stuck. So you just stick a clothespin in and drive on.
Yeah, well, you know, things happen. Oh, God knows. I miss the point in which keeping a wire coat hanger in your trunk was actually useful.
Yeah.
That's not useful anymore. I can only fix a muffler with that. And that's debatable. That's debatable anymore.
Well, that's debatable in general. No, there, you know, clothespin, duct tape, pantyhose, and a couple wire coat hangers used to be the car repair kit.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But no. Anyway, we got so off tangent.
Well, no, we're going right along with our normal tangencies.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to October. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, we do have a lot of women in the audience. Please get your breast pressed. Men, go get your breast pressed. People talk a lot about women with breast cancer. Very few people talk about men with breast cancer, and it's actually more common.
Well, and typically it's also worse because no one's checking for it.
Exactly.
Like, we can sit here and talk about testicular self-exams all day long. Typically because of the issues surrounding gynecomastia. A lot of men do not want to have that conversation about breast cancer. And it's not just people with gynecomastia. It can also happen to the biggest bodybuilder you've ever met, especially if they use testosterone.
Right.
But that's a whole nother separate topic.
No, but testosterone's now in the water.
Well,
you talked about this, or we talked about this. I don't even know if it was on the show or not. How medication is getting into our water system.
Well, yes. And a lot of that has to deal with, no one ever wants to think about the water supply system. That effectively the way this works is at one point in the stream, you are taking water in, you're running it through filtration, you're distributing it out to the homes. People are consuming the water, they're flushing it, they're putting it down drains, whatever. It goes to a sewage treatment plant, and guess where it goes? Back in the stream to go further downstream and get picked up somewhere else. Now, in that process, what we don't actually take care of, or what we have not been taking care of, and don't have any good viable solutions for, are the medications that we take. In very specifically, the medications we take, medications like hormone replacement therapy, which metabolizes out of the body, Viagra, Cialis, a lot of different medications. The way they metabolize out is urine, as do most medicines. What we don't realize is that the proliferation of those prescriptions and the commonality of them, and the amount of that medication that doesn't process, that does not get used by the body and just metabolizes out, actually ends up becoming part of the water supply. So you start noticing deer trying to mate out of season, aggressive deer, multiple aggressive animals, and multiple wrong mating moments occurring, because these hormones are actually effective on them, or these medications are effective on them and trigger those behaviors.
Right. But
as you cascade down that river, from town to town to town to town to town to town to town, you start noticing that as this water comes in and out of the rivers, further downstream, these issues get worse. And they can also have issues on the further downstream municipal water systems. And you start seeing issues like, 8-year-old girls going through puberty because they're getting just enough estrogen to signal their body. Between the foods that they're eating and the municipal water supply, it pre-triggers puberty. So suddenly you have a menstruating 8-year-old, which, not impossible, but it's occurring with more prevalence.
Right. But also, then you also have people that maybe have perfect health and they don't take any medication, getting estrogen induced into their system, getting testosterone induced into their system, getting
Mhm.
all these other things induced and building up. And we focus
Mhm.
a lot of times on female, especially in October because it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We focus
Mhm.
a lot of times on female breast cancer. Male breast cancer is even harder to direct, to detect because they aren't running tests. Men aren't checking their boobs.
Yep.
All that.
We're not going for mammography, though. That the biggest problem with mammography is that it only detects certain kinds of cancer, and it doesn't even necessarily do those all that well.
Right.
It's and there's been a lot of debate as to, and I still struggle with that one. Just for on the topic in general, as to what necessarily the effectiveness is of doing that form of cancer screening without necessarily knowing, or suspecting anything's wrong, of just going and doing it. Because I think in some cases it either becomes the thing that women dread and they don't want to go do, and they're already aggressive towards it, coupled with getting bad information back, much like your mother does, because your mother unfortunately has fibrous tissue, which apparently most women do. So in that concept, what are we gaining other than creating a lot of repetitive stress surrounding that event, so that someone who is going for annual mammography dreads it, thinks they're going to end up getting called back in to get told that they need either a biopsy or a secondary round of imaging. And so they're twice having to go through the stress of, finding out that, oh, no, you're actually okay.
Right.
Yeah, that sitting there worried that something might be wrong this time. And I wonder how much for some women that actually creates like more problems than what it prevents.
Well, see, the ultrasound, if you can get your
Mhm.
doctor doing ultrasound, it is much better. It'll detect earlier, it detects smaller, it detects faster. But the problem that doctors run into, and they want to switch over to this, is getting insurance companies behind it.
True. But it's the for that very reason, as to the fact that so many women have fibrous tissue,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that there are so many false, I don't want to exactly call them false positives, but just false results,
Right.
as in, leading to more diagnostic testing just to find out that no, you unfortunately have breast tissue that doesn't scan well.
Right. But it doesn't
And
scan well in a monogamy in the
mammography.
but an ultrasound can scan it, go,
Mhm.
that's fibrous tissue, that isn't abnormal cells, and then move on to the next.
Well, but unfortunately, what happens, and this is exactly what your mother goes through, is, and for her specific situation, it's just they tighten the screws a little tighter there, Nurse Ratchet, flatten them down like pancakes, and you'll get a good, clean read.
Right.
That's not what often happens for her. She gets the nice tech who doesn't do the full Iron Maiden routine, and it ends up being a problem. And your mother's standing there knowing it and telling her, please, go as hard as you can. I don't want to do this again in a month. Just once a year, just, unless something's wrong. And then she gets that phone call, and then she gets sent for the ultrasound, and they repeat over and over and over, all because the original tax, periodically she gets the bad one who doesn't do it correctly.
Yep.
So I can understand this from an insurance perspective is, wait a minute. You're going to keep repeatedly sending this woman over and over and over through the same process that even she's standing there knows what the hell's going wrong. And going, look, just tighten the screws a little bit more to, put the screws to me and do this right the first time. And the doctor will get the clean result. You won't have to see me again unless there's a legitimate problem. And again, going back, like for your mother's situation, she keeps repeatedly getting that phone call of, oh, you need to come back in. There may be something wrong. I think at this point, she just assumes they screwed the test up.
Right.
So one, she's not even panicked by it anymore.
No.
Like she's beyond that.
Yeah.
And I would be more concerned that, if it were inconvenient for her at this point, like, oh, wait a couple of months, whatever, that even if they did find something legitimately, that she would be more likely to be like, well, it's not an emergency. If I have to reschedule, whatever. And not necessarily take it as seriously. Or I would expect that a woman who has been through this, it's very reasonable to sit there and go, how many times do I have to get a false result and get called back in here and drugged back through this before you're like, yeah, I'm sure you screwed it up again and it's no big deal.
Well, mom, not so much, because she is, her mother went through breast cancer, so she began screening early. There are a lot of things my mother will reschedule and allow to slide. That isn't one of them. That isn't. She's on top of it. They didn't send me my card. I know, mother. You need to give them a call.
But again, that's very specific to her. But I could very much see if I were going in annually for a test that routinely got screwed up, and years and years and decades of this. No, I'm like, you call me and tell me there was a problem with your test, you need to come back in. I'm going to be like, yeah, you're an idiot and you can't run the test right. Like, I'm going to be walking around just like, whatever, dummies. And then, if like it's not convenient to me this week, I'm not going to have that same urgency.
Right.
Because it's like, you've screwed this test up how many friggin' times? Like, I'm sure you screwed it up again. But it also, like, and it becomes the flip side of the coin is, if you don't develop that mentality, you're going to drive yourself crazy repetitively at a test that gets routinely screwed up.
Right.
That, it may not be a big deal. It may just be you got the nice attendant or the nice tech who just didn't do it properly.
Right.
And that's it. That's your whole problem. Take you back in. You have fibrous tissue. Here's your ultrasound. Everything's fine. It's just fibrous tissue. Life's good. You already know this, or you've heard this multiple. It's sort of like what I'm comparing it to is every eye doctor I've had has freaked out when they run a glaucoma test on me. Because, oh my God, your intraocular pressure's too high. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I also know that I have one family member at least with glaucoma. Okay, so I'm sitting here in this catch-22. How much do I freak out about this? In the beginning, yeah, a little bit. Oh God, glaucoma, that's real bad. That's not a good thing. Like, oh my God, what if it's glaucoma? What if it's glaucoma? I panicked in the beginning, but now it's just kind of like, yeah, I know. I just have high intraocular pressure. If you do the imaging, you're just going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the back and forth debate of letting them go ahead and dilate me and do the full workup
Mm-hmm.
so they can see exactly what I, have multiple doctors have already seen is no, you just have high interocular pressure.
Right.
It's a thing.
Right.
Versus sitting there, like if they actually finally tell me I have glaucoma, I think you're going to have to pick me up, with a dump truck because it's going to hit me like a ton of bricks because it's like, no, I just have high interocular pressure, you idiot.
Hi, Emily. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Emily. Hi, Kathy.
But no, with it, it'll be okay. You get glaucoma, big deal, honey. We'll handle it. We've already figured out how to treat that.
Oh, Kathy wants to be a patron. Well, that's at the end of the show.
Yeah,
and
we'll actually talk through that, and we can actually talk her through that or talk about that a little bit too.
Oh yeah. Actually, you could screen share it, and it'd be awesome.
Well, yes, I can.
There's that.
Yeah. But also in the news, and what was really shocking, well, there's two stories I want to talk about. Story number one is that Snapchat and the Kardashians have registered more voters.
What?
Than ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who tracks this?
Vote Now tracks that, and they both and then there's another guy on YouTube who's giving away 5 Teslas. If you register to vote, you get added into it.
I'm sorry. So hold on a second. Let me back up because I missed the part on my form of where did you hear about us? The Kardashians was a checkbox or, Snapchat. Like I missed that part. I just thought it was, part of getting my driver's license. Well, granted, I know I can do it other ways, but still, that's every time I've done it is, would you like to register to vote? No, I would like to be an idiot who can die for my country, but can't vote in an election.
Well, again, they done campaigns and they had affiliate links to get people to register. And yeah.
But really? I'm sorry. I'm going to have to keep stopping you here. Voter registration did affiliate links?
Yes.
How screwed are we in 2020? Like, that just sounds insane. Like, like it's Amazon and you're getting like 1/10 of like a commission. Like, what?
Well,
there's affiliate links now?
Yeah.
Like, literally vote.org/Kardashian for what,
Well,
I'm just trying to imagine it like, the lawnmower trimmer and MeUndies. Like, I'm just trying to, like, hear the ad in my head.
Well, here's the ad, honey.
Okay.
It's in private chat. Go look at it.
Okay. Cool.
Kylie done really good.
And I'm sorry, I'm being horrible, but it just sounds so funny to me.
1,500% increase in user registering to vote.
Wow.
After the Jenner post. Cool. And that's just one of it. But the other piece was, and guys, the reason it's going over to private chat is she was smart about this. I have to say, she knew what to do well.
Okay. Oh my God, is this like hooker baiting people to like go vote? Am I going to be horrified here?
No, it's a very lovely
bikini photos. Yeah, it's hooker baiting.
Yeah, it's a very nice photo.
Well, it is. Sorry, I'm like
It's not hooker baiting. It's a nice photo.
Yeah, it's also how they sold a lot of cars.
Yeah, they're stupid.
I'm just saying. Effectively, it's all about the idea of get the of sex sells. You're using sex to sell an object.
Honey, that's not an idea. That's a proven fact.
Well, it's a proven fact, but my God, now we're using it to register to vote. Like,
Whatever we get these 18-year-olds up and doing, considering the average age of
I'm sure it gets them up. Pardon?
Whatever it takes to get them to vote. I mean, because the average age is 37 of a voter.
Well, yeah, it works, but do they, like, here's my problem. Like, and I'm not against registering people to vote. That's an awesome thing. Kudos. But some of the people registering to vote, are they actually going to vote? Or did they just do it because a celebrity told them to go do it and there was a link?
Well, hopefully they'll vote. Getting more registered voters is important. Taking your voter rights seriously is important. If you're doing mail-in balloting, do it early. That way, if there's a problem, you can get it fixed. But vote. This is the only way we can take back our government. This is the only way we can run our government. And thank you to people that have died. And I'm not talking about soldiers. I'm talking about protesters. I'm talking about people that have took a stand personally, fought for these rights for African American voters, took the stand for women voters. And that was really, really big.
Brendan does make the good point of, even if only a portion of them vote, it's more than there were. So, yes, and I get that. It's just, I don't know how much to read into it. Is like, yeah, it's up 1,500%, I believe you said, on registration. But I'm curious what that's going to look like on election day. As in what that translates into, and whether it actually, like, do we qualify it as successful at the point of registration, or do we qualify it as successful when you actually get them to the polls?
I think we qualify it as a success at both. Once we get past the gatekeeper, that's success. We get them actually into the polls and voting and forming ideas and getting involved in their government is the bigger success. But getting them past that first goalpost is so important.
Okay. And then here's my other question is, like, I'm sorry, this is Kylie Jenner, so I don't expect she does much for free. Was this like a paid thing? Was she paid to do this?
I don't believe so. I believe it's just like the ads that we were offered to do. And she took it on because she gets to write that off.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to understand. I really am. Because it does become a question. Oh, that would be glorious, Kathy. So Kathy is asking, how do we make it 2 4-year terms for Congress and senators so they work for the people and not for private insurance and companies? No, that's been a very big part of our history as a country, is that a lot of what is occurring in Washington has nothing to do with Main Street and has a lot more to do with special interests, i.e. those who can afford lobbyists and who can afford more lobbyists.
Right. But two things. To get that to happen, to answer Kathy's question, there has to be a bill introduced. The bill has to pass both the House and Senate, be signed by the president, and then it has to be signed by the governors, who is that, and it may even have to go to being, no, it doesn't have to be turned over to the voters, but we have to get a bill passed like any other legislation, just like the presidential term, just like I think the Supreme Court should have term limits.
But ultimately, we have a problem of the system trying to fix itself.
Right.
In which the very system that, literally, let's call it point blank, call it what it is, profits from this, is the same system we have to turn around and ask as normal Americans of, hey, go vote against yourself on this.
Right.
And that's, in and of itself, very screwy.
Yeah. but that's a federal vote. And there hasn't been a lot of there's been a lot of call for it. It's going to take a progressive Congress and a progressive president and a progressive governors to do it.
And it's going to end up being one of those things. It's a very brave thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
As in the keeping the status quo of 40-year senators is very easy.
Yeah.
Or 40-year representatives, and that happens in local government too.
Right.
We've seen that all around West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of one of the central concepts in the what was her stupid name? Denied marriage licenses. Kentucky.
Kim.
Yes. Kim Davis?
Kim Davis, yeah.
Yeah. Was basically no one else ran, and she had been county clerk for years, and before she was county clerk, it was her mother or something. Yeah, it was another relative. Like, it was just a hand-me-down position.
Yeah, but again, these things need to be changed. The only way we can change them is starting at the local and moving our way up. That includes going to your Board of Education or keeping track of the Board of Education, keeping track of your city councilman, and, pushing new people into those positions. But getting involved in your politicals, and we need younger people involved.
Well, but a large part of the problem that we run into is that we're stuck in a situation in which the people elected for those positions set the meeting dates and times. And what I've at least noticed is a lot of them end up being very inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
Or a lot of municipalities in which they think there might be controversy will schedule inconvenient meetings. Yeah. As in, it's open to the public, but the normal public cannot be there.
Right.
It is inconvenient, i.e. would have to leave work, would have to, literally rush to get there to have this meeting.
Well, we see that a lot, and then we also see people just not doing the jobs. An example is Raynell City Council refusing to hire policemen because they don't see results in them.
Okay.
They had 4, now they have 2.
So
that means that they're not getting coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in this little town of Raynell.
Well, granted, small town. But that's often kind of the theory anymore with small town policing, is that it can be a part-time job.
Right.
I'm just not sure how that works out for officers, because I'm sure they end up on call. As in, when there's an event in the middle of the night, you're going to get called out of bed.
Right. But here's the other problem with that. There's nobody there to answer the phones. They're having to send county resources, which, for those who are unaware, Raynell is this little podunk area in the minutes between Fayette and Summers County. So the state police are having to pick up city police jobs, and state police aren't going to come do that.
Well, but this is also in West Virginia, let me point out, where our literal Department of Highways has basically said they don't answer the phone.
No.
So you can call the 911 non-emergency number. You can call Homeland Security. Or you can call this special department set up by the governor. All of which are now acting as their secretary to take messages about road issues.
Yep.
And I'm going, how screwed is that? We can't even get our state road to pick up the phone. It has gotten so bad that our governor has set up an entire task force to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, talk about misuse of resources. The fact that you're burdening, 911 and Homeland Security. Like, this is not a domestic terrorist incident. We're talking about a pothole. That's like literally, there's a pothole in the road. Call Homeland Security.
Yeah.
That's where we're at as a state in terms of an entire division of our government being able to do its job.
Right.
Part of which is going to be
answering the big problem. The Department of Homeland Security is still in question on whether it's a legal department or not.
Well, lots of sides there, but come on. Really? The same department that, deals with domestic terrorism is also handling potholes for West Virginia. Like, stop and process that, guys. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that the level of screwed up running a department you have to be in which you think, like, let's call it what it is, that you get to make the Department of Homeland Security your bitch, because that's what we're talking about is here. Take, like total Mad Men 50s era, like out of the control hubris. That's what they're doing. Like, Homeland Security can fetch our coffee and take our messages. It's how they're acting, and it's like, this is crazy. This is not how you like take care of a staffing issue / a ability to do your job. Is not to just surrender it to another governmental agency.
Right. That's not even in charge of it. I mean, we already have one. It's called SWAT. We already have one SWAT complaint. Monday morning, I'm placing another one over this road construction. I haven't heard back from the first one.
Right. And that's the governor system, so no one's getting confused. We're not swatting the Department of Highways. Please don't ever do that. Like, that's horrible to do to anyone. So no, that's what our wonderful governor decided to call the system, was SWAT.
Well, we know that he has crayons, and he has to figure out words he can spell.
No, he has Sharpies. If you haven't noticed, he plays with it the whole time he is in front of the cameras.
Yeah,
like that poor Sharpie. Like, it can't even work. Like, there is no way that Sharpie after one meeting works.
Right.
Because he's just sitting there like the whole way through. And it's like, dude, will you stop? That's just me. And I'm a pen clicker. I really am. I will sit here and click a pen all day long, but my God, take the Sharpie away from him.
Well, I didn't like to see that he got his flu shot today. Please get your flu shot. I have been saying for 2 years now, before Corona came through, we've got to get our flu shots. We need to get our flu shots. We need our flu shots. We need to get our flu shots. Yes, Aeson finally got his flu shot. I am not one for flu shots normally. We are due for a very bad flu.
Yes. Well, and also got your pneumonia vaccine.
Again, I don't know what's hitting us, but it's not going to. Corona is one thing. There's another storm coming. So please get your immune shots, get whatever your shots you need or they have developed, because during these times, secondary things take over. I.e., in 1918, they had the swine flu. Right behind it was yellow fever.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can, well, and a lot of that has to do with us being indoors so much.
Yes.
So it does get a little ugly.
Yeah.
And good job, Brenda.
Yes.
She's not for them either, but she got both.
Right.
Good job.
Normally I say it's the flu. We need herd immunity if we're starting to don't play games with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. At this point, like with the flu,
Mm-hmm.
I if it were if we were talking about something that we could develop a lifetime immunity against,
Mm-hmm.
I would be more in line to say, well, your flu shot. Like compare the flu
Mm-hmm.
to like, getting lifetime immunity with it. Okay, whatevs. But unfortunately, the flu does not work that way. It is not long term.
Right. Well, my
So we
whole
do
problem,
definitely need the flu shot.
right. My whole problem with the flu shot, normally, this is in
Mhm.
normal times. People understand my view on normal times when we do not have a pandemic of global proportion going on. So the next new normal or the old new normal was their accuracy rate on predicting which flu they needed to vaccinate you for was 25%.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my accuracy is higher than that. Mine was at 87%. No. And I normally got sick. And, that may have been a little bit of what's been going on. But after getting the shot. So, again, but this isn't normal times. Looking at all the information I have, we need to be prepped up. Please get your vaccinations. Please, please, please make sure your children has measles, mumps, and rubella. Please make sure they get all their vaccines. Those are important. Those have been around since the 40s.
Yes. And then also in other news surrounding the coronavirus, have you seen the petition
What's the petition?
related to the way Justice is treating the numbers
No,
that
I haven't
he's?
seen the petition.
Yes, there is a petition
Okay.
to get him to use real numbers and quit taking something like Monongalia County and WVU and all of the students that are sick there and counting them as exactly one case.
Yeah. Need to use real numbers.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm actually liking and again, I do not like government controlled information because I don't think we're getting accurate government information. When we look at John Hopkins' numbers comparatively, I'll take John Hopkins any day. Like
Okay.
that medical facility has been top of the line for me. They've done amazing things. They continue to do amazing things. Why us as the United States country are not using their scientists to their full benefit is beyond me. They are topping the globe.
Well, but at the same time, a lot of the numbers that they're getting are being filtered through. Like
Right.
they're getting secondhand data, as I understand it. They're not getting first
Getting
hand.
straight data.
They are getting straight data. Okay.
Yeah, they're getting
Just making sure.
data. Governmental data is being filtered.
Yeah, and that was the whole point on the petition is that we are using some really bad numbers.
Yeah.
And that being the biggest example of an entire sick college campus with hundreds of people sick only counting as literally like one person.
Right. And that's ridiculous.
And it's also a large portion of why Monongalia County went green this week, didn't it?
Possibly. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I thought you had said to me that they had gone green and then because there was a potentiality of a Morgantown event and we were looking at the map and going, okay, where are you guys at? And they're like, oh God, no, that's a joke.
Well,
like, that's where our contact in Morgantown was like, we wish we were doing as good as it's portrayed in the news.
And I have to give it to him. And I'm sorry, I will release it. Earth Magic was supposed to teach a year and a day program there. And I messaged and said, hey, the numbers are looking good. What are y'all seeing? And they're like, no, stay home.
Yeah.
They have been top of the line. Mo and Jason have kicked ass during this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
They will tell me, this is now twice they've overruled, okay, fine.
Well, it's not really even an overrule. It's like we've had the conversation of like, this is what we're seeing and expecting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay? The numbers are good enough. We can come up. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, those numbers are a farce.
Right.
Here's what's actually going on right here. Here's what's happening in our area. And no. No.
They were like, go online. They even gave me the option to stop in the classroom. I'm like, no, I can go online and teach this. And they're like, do it. They have shut down. They have limited, one person in the store at a time. That is a small business performing at its best.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And Emily's talking about Harrison County just went orange. We got an automated message from Minnie Mott, who we love, from Minnie Mott Schools saying to stay tuned tomorrow for official decision on what they do next. Originally, they were planning on allowing Minnie Mott's class back to school on Mondays and Tuesdays. Now, Minnie Mott's in that age range. He is in cohort. As in, he stays in one class all day long, or potentially can. Because he's young enough. He's not in that middle school, high school range. Which has also been part of this debate as to with cohort classes in which you go in a room, you're with these people all day long, you leave the room, you go home.
Right.
And out and out. That's all you're doing. That there was a potential for those groups of students to go back before middle and high school students who are all over the place.
But still, there's interaction. There's trips to the bathroom. There's the bus. They keep treating it like all day they're in this bubble. They're not in a bubble. There's no way you can keep a group of children. You can't even keep in a bubble.
You're going to have shared spaces. Now, what a lot of the school systems are talking about doing is that lunches in classrooms. Trying to space out on buses, so they'll be running more bus trips, so they can keep those students spaced out, as different measures they're taking, as well as basically shutting down any activities that would be rotational. I'm assuming that elementary in West Virginia is still functioning somewhat like when I was in elementary, and we had a PE day and a music day and a
arts day,
with rotating people. Or, for instance, speech therapy, in which that student gets pulled out into a speech therapy room, has one-on-one interaction, and then gets sent back to class.
Right.
And repeat back and forth, back and forth. So, yeah. I don't know that it's been well thought out. I think the most telling part wasn't it West Virginia that had a meeting in which school officials, was that West Virginia? They had the meeting of school officials that were talking about reopening. That was the purpose of the meeting. And then all of them got COVID.
Yes.
I mean, not to laugh necessarily, but it's like, here's your sign, that a group of adults cannot meet in a room without this spreading.
Right.
And you, bad enough to even talk about doing this with middle and high school students who are a little closer to adulthood, but you're thinking you can control the minis.
Yeah.
Like the mini mod. I mean,
again, I'm sorry. People may not agree with me. Children don't need to be in school. They need to be at home. Yes, it's going to be taxing. Yes, you're going to have to cohort and work together with groups of parents or neighborhoods or whatever to make it happen. But a group of 4 children from 4 homes getting homeschooled is safer than putting 20 children in a classroom that's exposed to who knows what
Mm-hmm.
in normal fall season.
Well, and I think some of the discussion was also around like having a particular like small group go through like each day of the week. Like take your class of 20, 4 on Monday, 4 on Tuesday, 4 on Wednesday, 4, 4, 4. Granted, that's assuming there's such a thing as a 20 kid class in the state of West Virginia anymore.
Right.
Because, I mean, hell, when I went through, we were already, I think, up to 30s.
Right.
And so that means that our grade level, 3 teachers, had roughly, 90 some, almost 100 students between them.
Right. And
that they were responsible for. Yeah. And little kids are huggers and they forget stuff.
And they touch. And
they're impulsive.
Well, no.
And it's part of childhood. You can't fault them for it. Like, do you really want to sit here and be screaming at a 5-year-old that hugging people could kill them?
Or
like, that's not a thing that we need to be screaming at kids, because
exactly.
Like, that's where you would have to put this at.
Right.
Is otherwise it's just going, no, we don't touch, which we already do in schools. We already do that in schools, trying to prevent the spread of germs and people not wanting to be touched and not starting fights and, you know, those kinds of issues. And it doesn't work all that great. It works a little.
A little.
But you're still, like, these are little impulsive peoples.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, we don't hold 5-year-olds accountable for murder for a reason.
Yeah.
It's because typically, even if they have, like, you know, means, motive, opportunity, and like the ability to understand what they're doing, they're impulsive little peoples.
Right.
They do stuff.
And while, you know, I forget what they're calling it now, the mini version of Corona can be spread to children. No one's talking about it. It's there. And then we have them going home to grandma and grandpa. Most of West Virginia is being raised by a secondary parent.
Well, a lot of. I don't think we've hit most yet, have we?
We have.
Have we seriously crossed the threshold of more than 50% of West Virginia kids are being raised by non-direct parent?
Correct.
Good God.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign.
No, it's not. So, you know.
But yeah. But no, so Emily also said he started going to school, started the school year going to school on Monday and then online the rest of the week. And after his first week, the school had 3 cases. And yeah, they went online only.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of this back and forth. Like, we keep thinking we're going to be able to reopen. We don't really have a handle on this. We haven't gotten a handle on this. Right. The numbers are not telling us we've got a handle on this, even when they're being filtered and, you know, prettied up.
Yeah. And
like we're throwing lipstick on this pig as hard as we can. The pig has gotten a full makeover. Miss Piggy even still looks bad at this point, because that's what we're dealing with numbers wise. And Miss Piggy's still ugly. But yeah. Oh, well, and then there is the current, which Emily brings up, is that a lot of grandparents are also stepping in right now for homeschooling, because parents are working.
But that's always been the job of grandparents.
Well, it has been to a large degree. A lot of grandparents have stepped in as secondary childcare. You know, as an alternative to like paid daycare, unofficial, you know, childcare. Like, they're not there as daycare. You know, it's your grandparent or a neighbor or a friend or etc.
Right.
You know, sometimes it starts to look like a little baby daycare. You know, if grandma had enough kids and they had enough kids, it does start to look like a little daycare.
Right. But that's always been the role in my mind of grandparents. That's the joy of being a grandparent, is you get to go to the soccer games, football games. You get to be the babysitter. You get to take on and take care of the grandkids while the parents go work. Mm-hmm. This is part of our culture for centuries.
Well, and West Virginia has, in a large degree, turned that on its head with so many things going wrong. Mm-hmm. That so many grandparents are becoming legal guardians.
Yeah.
Sometimes not even just for that first generational grandchild. Mm-hmm. Sometimes not just for one of their kids' children. Mm-hmm. Sometimes even the second generation, that they raised that grandchild to adulthood. Mm-hmm. That adult grandchild had kids, and those kids are now being raised by their great grandparents.
Right.
And we're starting to see that too, which is scary. Mm-hmm. Is really scary. That's not a thing that where do you even start with that? I mean, like, your first hope has to be that you had your kids young and they had their kids young. Mm-hmm. So that by the time you're getting to this, great grandchild you're raising, mm-hmm. that maybe you're still in your 60s. Mm-hmm. Like, otherwise you're starting to talk about 80 and 90-year-olds taking on this responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's a lot for anyone.
Right.
Let alone someone who is supposed to be, mm-hmm. Having fun cookie baking experiences and then sending the little fun tykes back home to mom and dad so they can take a nap.
Mm-hmm. But I'm an example of that situation. My grandmother took care of me. My parents worked. Mm-hmm. I mean, baby on up. Mom went back to work. I was saying, she went back to work probably 2 months after being born. And my grandmother, my aunt, they had technically she was a great aunt. She had me because they worked for state hospital. 16 hours was a rarity thing. My father did work 24 to 72 sometimes.
Right. Well, and on my life experience, my grandmother had me a little bit. Mm-hmm. Weekends and things like that. I kind of get the feeling Emily's and Minnie Mott's experience is sort of like where my mom and my experience was at. Mm-hmm. Is that it's not like all the time. It's like maybe a week in the summer, or a few weekends here and there. It's not like this is the planned childcare solution. Mm-hmm. Like, this is it. This is all you got. Mm-hmm. And it's like 6 days a week, which I think is about the rate your parents were working, if not 7.
Yeah.
Between the two of them, at least. So no, I mean, because dad was always gone, mm-hmm. mostly, mm-hmm. Working out of town. And so, yeah, mom had me most of the time. Mm-hmm. Nights over with my sister because we're generationally there. In which, I have siblings old enough to be my mother. Mm-hmm. So like, what's one more kid? That kind of mindset.
Right.
But it wasn't like if that hadn't have occurred, mm-hmm. like, yeah, I'm sure mom could have used a break. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like mom had to go to work.
Right.
And who's going to take care of this kid I can't take to work with me?
Right. Well, the original plan was dad worked days, mom worked nights. There was supposed to be a switch off there. But with the way the government was running at the time and the way employment in the nursing industry, which is still happening today, mm-hmm. in lower level facilities, they'd go to work and dad was supposed to get off at 3 and he's getting off at, 11. Mom's going in at 11. They didn't see each other for a couple years there during the, mid 80s.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I kind of look back at it and wonder how my grandmother had to have responded.
Right.
Just for a moment, just pops in my head. Because kind of like Kathy's talking about, it's hard after raising 4 of my own and expected to relax at this stage of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder where my grandmother had to be. Because right as, like, literally right before I was born, the next youngest to me, they had taken on vacation with them to Florida.
Uh-huh.
Like, the 13-year-old or the near 13-year-old, I can't remember which way that goes. I think near 13-year-old went with them on vacation. My grandparents, they had a great trip, blah, blah, blah. And basically my grandmother comes back and it's like, here's a freaking diaper bag. Like, she had to have at least be going, what the hell? Like, no. We're not doing this again. I'm too old for this crap. Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
No, I like them at this age when we can just, say, hey, pack a bag. We're going to Florida. Like, I wasn't ready.
Well, for my grandmother, it was no big deal. It was like, oh, I get to raise another one. One grandmother was wonderful and excited, and she was amazing. The other one was like, can you wash a dish yet?
Well, I just wonder where my father's mother was with this. Now, I know with Granny Barton, my mom's mom, I don't know if actually she ever watched me because I'm currently having problems remembering if she passed right before I was born or right after. I never can remember. Like, I have no memory of that grandmother.
Right. And, everybody says that, she works 2 days a week. Mr. Mott works from home, which is a lot of people are doing. So they've been able to be flexible. And, that's awesome.
But no, I know that that grandmother, though, would have had to have been fun. Because I know before I was even born, she had already gotten to the point that after having 9 children, who then had multiple children, she had gotten to the point of that, you there one. Like, I know which kid you are. Like that, like, which one of my kids had you? That's all she knew. Like, she had given up on names.
Right.
Given up. But now I can't even remember. I cannot even remember that grandmother. Like, I really can't. Like, I've got nothing. Unless I've confused some memories and they had very similar cars. That's all I got going for me.
Yeah, but, taking off to Florida, no big deal. Taking off, when you have grandparents that are help raising you, it's like, oh, I'm going, one of my grandmothers, up until a few weeks ago, we didn't know where she was at times. Because when she retired, she said, y'all are all grown. Y'all are all grown. I'll do what I want. And she'd take off. Oh, I decided to go to Ohio today. Oh, I decided I want to go pick strawberries. My other grandmother, the one I'm writing the memoir about, she didn't care who you were. You were hers.
Like, she just took in strays. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, it's a kid, needs care. I'm good. Send it on over.
No. And she raised 8 kids, 2 of her own and 4 step, and then 1 we're not exactly sure if it's step, took in, collected. I mean, trying to sort out our family tree is like trying to sort out a soup.
Well, yeah, and then Emily points out she had a coworker with 5 that had 5 kids and 23 grandchildren. He gave up on even trying presents and just cooks food for the kids. I understand that. Like, now, my grandmother on my dad's side had a similar moment. Like, she quit buying presents and just started writing checks, or more importantly, putting cash in cards. She went to the bank. The bank had lovely cards that are dollar bill sized and little envelopes that they go into, and it was literally pass out envelopes. And she's like, I'm done. She's like, I'm done. She's like, I cannot even begin.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, out of five of us kids, she got 1, 2, 3. Well, depends upon how you want to count. Multiple grandchildren. Let's go there. And then there were great grandchildren.
Right.
And then, my grandmother, so she had 5 grandchildren, and then once you started in on the great grandchildren, it got a little hairy.
Well,
and then she lived long enough for great grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she was like, who are you? Like, hold on, we have to do a family tree. Hold on.
Well, and here's the thing with it, and the thing in general with it, is you have to remember is you have to go back a page, because she started out with 1.
Yes. I think that's where she started. She had 1 child. And it just kind of boom.
Yeah.
Well, but then again, she married into a family with 26 children. Not all made it to adulthood, unfortunately, time period. 18 made it to adulthood, if I remember the family tree numbers right. So yeah, it's between that, I'm sure she had to be like, who are you related to at this point? Because, like, our family reunion is kind of scary. Like, it's just scary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you could call it anything from a family reunion to, like, a rally.
Well,
or a WWE event. No one could tell you differently.
Well, again, there's some reorganization going on there, and I'm sure we'll do it as soon as they have the next one. But, you still have mini family reunion, aka Marapi, for July.
Yes. Well, and for those of you who aren't sure what that is, we've combined Christmas and Thanksgiving, and we call it Marapi Thanksmas.
And we're going to rename it Happy Marapi Thanksmas, so that we can include birthdays and 4th of July and Easter and all the other holidays into one.
Well, actually, at that point, wouldn't it be Happy Marapi Thanksmas Day?
Yes.
So we're just going to slam everything in 2020 into, like, one event, if we're even able.
Yes.
If we're even able.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, gosh. That's going to be a lot.
Emily, read Emily's comment.
Yeah, so Emily says, my great-grandmother was like, according to my mother, she was a widow who raised 6 kids during the Depression and helped take care of and feed half the neighborhood kids. She was a tough cookie. So for time scale, just a reference, my great grandmother on my dad's side. So there were 2 of them. Side note, there were 2 Mrs. Arringtons in that generation, 13 kids apiece. Yeah, the last kid was born in the 1920s. So yeah, no, totally understand. Like, my grandmother was literally older than sliced bread and the right of women to vote. No, excuse me. Women she was technically older than the right of women to vote. it was basically women's suffrage passed right after my grandmother was born.
Mm-hmm.
Age-wise, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
So no, I totally understand. I have heard the horror stories, and that is why our family has recipes that will feed armies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So normally I'll let Vanna take it from here, but I'm going to actually walk you through this since it's been requested. Remember, this is going to audio, so remember to talk it through, Vanna.
Okay, I do what I can.
I know.
Alrighty. Well, of course. Well, I can do the thank yous.
Okay.
So, of course, we want to thank our Patreon supporters, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, and the Crystal Lotus Shop, located at 89 Old Main Plaza. If you're in the area, feel free to stop in. They have a large assortment of absolutely wonderful things. And if you would like to learn more about the show or become a Patreon sponsor, this is where we will walk you through that. Visit our website at pcspnetwork.com, and you will click the Join the Team and Support the Show big red button, become a Patreon, and that will take you to the Patreon website in a minute. Sometime today.
There.
Hit the button. Hit the button.
Oh, I did.
Oh, it popped up in a different window?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, share that window.
I'm working.
Work faster. You better work. What? You would say that to me. Don't even look at me like that. So then you will go to this lovely page on Patreon where you can join as a $1, $5, or $10 a month member.
And cover what they get while we're here.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we're going to go full in depth. All right. So with all levels, you get an end of video thank you during credits, access to our Undertable and Dreaming newsletter. And then with each level of membership, you do get a corresponding, well, sort of corresponding discount on a private reading with Aeson. For the $1 and $5 levels, that is a 5% discount. And for the $10 level, it's a $10 or 10% discount, excuse me. In addition, for the $5 a month, you get exclusive early access to coffee, chat, videos, and blogs, and a free meditative wallpaper for phone, tablet, and computer. Now, at $10, you get all of that, as well as recognition in the the Table and Dreaming newsletter, thank you section, Discord access, Ask Us Anything live stream Q&A, and Discord access, submit and vote to decide what stories you would like us to tackle. Plus, at the $10 level only, you get a 3-card angel reading from Aeson each month.
Yep.
Which is a $10 value in and of itself.
Yes. Now, we will be updating this. We're actually going to probably move over to adding in a private Facebook group. We haven't got that developed yet, but that will be added to it. Again, all you got to do is go.
Well, and I think we might be taking the Discord server out. That doesn't seem like it was something that was going to work for us. We thought it would. We thought it'd be awesome, but turns out I don't think that's works. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're going to be substituting and taking Discord out and adding the private Facebook group.
Absolutely.
For Patreons. All right. Yeah, so it's easy, it's quick. You get, when we say early access, it's like the Aeson vlogs that normally go on, or some of the videos and reviews I've been doing. Those go up a week ahead of time for our Patreon members only, and then they go out publicly. Live Q&A, Ask Us Anything, that will be going out. We're going to be setting that up this month, where we sit down and talk about anything our Patreons want to talk about. Ask us anything, we'll answer it. Granted,
we do a fair amount of that here. Yeah. I would struggle. I don't know. Like, what are we going to do differently for that? Because we answer and discuss a lot of the stuff that happens in comments here.
Well, that's
Like,
in comments here, and normally news stories. We may do something a little different, but that's just going to be live Q&A driven for Patreon members. Under the Table and Dreaming is going out sometime this week. It should be within the next couple of days. Patreon members, be watching for your wallpapers.
mm-hmm.
But no, we will be upgrading the tiers and changing some things that we're not seeing that much interest on. So, it's very quick, very simple. I believe it goes through your PayPal or bank account. Billing wise, creating an account, you just hit, log in by Google, log in by Facebook, whatever, and you get messages out whenever they post. It does get a direct line to us for other things. And of course, you get discounts,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, talking about like 5% off a reading and 10% off a reading, that could be a pretty decent discount.
Yeah. Or free reading.
Yeah.
But you don't even have to schedule. It just comes to you in email.
There you go. Well, yeah, the 3-card. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. But again, guys, sorry, I have a lovely, lovely abscess tooth that affects my face, and it's never that simple.
Aw, Kathy couldn't leave us great feedback on our Facebook. No comments. What did we do that for?
I don't know. I think that may be attached to some of Facebook's issues. They're going through that update. We have had a bug on Facebook that some people cannot comment, and basically they need to restart their, log out and start back into Facebook. Oh. All right, guys, we are at the 1:58 mark, so we're a little over time. It'll be great. We will see you Tuesday night, hopefully.
Yes.
And if not, Joe will see you Tuesday night. We will see how things go, as we explore this new realm of reality, as we explore, I haven't had an oral surgery or any surgery in years, so I'm not sure how I will take it. And if I can't take it well, then Joe will do it alone.
Unless he's really drugged, in which I'm totally putting a camera in his face and letting you guys have fun with it.
Yeah, we've thought about vlogging. But we will
drugged up Aeson.
We will see how things go, but there will be a continuity. All right, y'all. You have a lovely evening, and bye, y'all. Good night, Joe.
Good night.